Hey, this is Jeff, longtime listener, first time caller for the Real DMers podcast. I just wanted to pipe in here about Her Private Hell. I love this movie. Any day of the week that you can show me a psychosexual melodrama, giallo, horror, sci-fi, opera, I'm here for it.
Welcome to this episode of Short Ends. You just heard the voice of one of our loyal listeners, Jeff, who reached out about seeing Her Private Hell. Greg was able to catch the film, and it's safe to say it's not lighting the box office on fire. But since it's directed by a Real Demers friendly director, Nicolas Winding Refn, we felt we should showcase just a little bit.
Look, I went opening night and I had some thoughts and I texted Andreas. This is one of those, I'd love Andreas to see it, to weigh in, and I think we'd have a fascinating conversation. But I will say the one person I thought of in my orbit that I'm like, I think they'd enjoy it is my dear friend Jeff. Jeff went a few days later to a screening with Nicolas Winding Refn in person, and two very different experiences. And I thought it'd be exciting to kind of jump into that today, and that's why we're here. But suffice to say, we wouldn't be talking about a movie that we didn't enjoy. And despite the box office drubbing, I did greatly enjoy it.
Nice. So where did you see it?
I saw it at AMC Century City. Also where I saw Megalopolis, which a lot of people are comparing to this film. So maybe there's some irony there.
Her Private Hell stars Sophie Thatcher, Charles Melton, and Havana Roselou. It's written by Esti Giordani and Nicolas Winding Refn. The plot description on IMDb reads, a hypnotic, unhinged thriller with an original story promising plenty of glamour, sex, and violence. Greg, I'm guessing there's more to it than that.
I think there's a reason why when you go on IMDb and you go on Wikipedia, the descriptions are a little vague. Because trying to describe this movie is a touch difficult, which might be why it's having some trouble at the box office. But I took a stab at this, and I would say, in an unnamed city engulfed in mist, where a mysterious killer named the Leatherman is on the loose, an actress is having personal and professional issues with her former best friend, who is now her stepmother. The actress has visions of a soldier prowling the underworld, searching for his lost daughter, whose mission might be tied into the killer at large. So we're really following two stories. You got the actress and her life and her troubles, and then you've got this soldier, Private K, played by Charles Melton, who's kind of up against like the Japanese underworld.
I mean, it sounds like an interesting premise. Is it?
Well, I think here, Neon, just from what I was reading, really gave Refn an opportunity to make whatever he wants. They've got a long history together, that company and himself. He's been making TV shows for the last 10 years. He hasn't made anything since for the screen since Neon Demon. And he had a near-death experience. He was having some heart issues that definitely affected him. Kind of coming out of that, he was creatively energized. And this project is a lot of Refnisms in one place. And I think he's been compared, especially in kind of his later years, to David Lynch at times. There's stilted delivery sometimes in the performances, surreal imagery, kind of a heightened reality at play. And I think, generally when it comes to film criticism, Lynch's name is thrown around so much you can't always trust that. Oh, it's weird. Oh, it's a David Lynch movie. But with Refn, I do see some connections. And much like Inland Empire is just Lynch just going for it. It's just a sketchbook of a whole bunch of Lynch ideas. And he's just going to kind of put that out there and you kind of stitch together. This has narrative threads, but you do get the feeling it's just Refn throwing a lot of just stuff he finds cool against the wall and hoping that you'll think it'll stick.
Interesting. So is there another one of his films that you could compare it to, or is this its own sort of beast?
Okay, funny you ask. Yes, it's kind of late period Refn's greatest hits, because I feel Only God Forgives in here. I feel Neon Demon in here. I feel Too Old to Die Young in here. And I feel Copenhagen Cowboy in here. And I think if anything, like, what does that have in common? Other than Only God Forgives, those other properties, it's kind of the shift into more of like a feminist slant. And even that, like, I hate using that word because it's like, is he successful? Isn't he successful? I don't the early part of Refn's career is very masculine. You're following dudes, the Pusher series, Bronson, Valhalla Rising, Drive, Ryan Gosling, like epitome of cool out there. And then there was a shift after that with Neon Demon into just following more like female-centric stories, and when men are involved, trying to put the stop to like women getting abused. And that's a theme in Too Old to Die Young, and that pops up here. So I think it's a lot of late period hallmarks, and also just, again, Refn's take on the feminine experience. And I hope that doesn't come off insulting, but that's the easiest way I can put it.
There's so much about it that I love, especially the visuals, especially the score. My God, this score is, I just haven't heard a score like this in a long time, and it was wonderful. Exciting and dramatic and, over the top at times, but that's what I wanted from this. And I realized that this is not a movie for everybody. I found myself pretty much taken in under the spell of it pretty quickly. I think that opening shot of what I guess is the Leatherman's head kind of rising out of the clouds, and then we're off into this very kind of uncanny, strange, stilted world of these beautiful actresses who are in this, what feels like a 60s sci-fi film. It's like a fairy tale. It's got all these elements that I just absolutely ate up.
Many are comparing it to Giallo and those films. For listeners who aren't as familiar with Giallo, could you give a brief description of what that means in that comparison?
Oh, Andreas, my pleasure. They're kind of proto slashers where there's a killer on the loose, but in the European version, they're more mystery based, and with American versions, they became more like sex and violence based. So maybe a little bit more elegant, but look, I've got a lot of love in my heart for both versions. And there's definitely allusions to Mario Bava, who's one of my favorite directors, and Brian De Palma at the same time. And yes, I have IMDb open here, and the plot descriptions are, or the genre description is dystopian sci-fi, psychological thriller, crime, drama, horror, sci-fi thriller. And yeah, that's all. Every word there is accurate. Kind of. So it's like, if that sounds interesting, check it out. That sounds like too many things happening at once. Well, perhaps again, that's why we're having some of the issues at the box office it's been having. But to answer your question about the Giallo, yes, the Leatherman plot thread with all the different threads that are happening here is very Giallo based. It's this kind of ghostly figure showing up and attacking women, and the setup for that. Now, I saw somebody I follow online kind of calling out, they wouldn't call this a Giallo because this is missing the mystery aspect. The point of the film isn't to unmask who the killer is or get their backstory or whatever. And I get that. I think that it's valid, and I get where they're coming from. But the point here is it's a whole bunch of stuff Refn loves getting thrown into a blender. So it's Giallo imagery. If we're on trial, if the movie's on trial, okay, it's not a 100% front to back Giallo, but it's using Giallo imagery, and there's like a sequence straight out of Sisters, which has like Giallo elements to it from De Palma's career, and that's clearly like an homage to those. And there's also at one point they're in a club, and the lighting of the club brings to mind one of Mario Bava's films, Blood and Black Lace, which is a very famous, influential kill when the lighting is constantly changing in this room, and that's what the club looks like. And it's a nice homage to a film that I adore, but also it's a great looking scene here. So it's not just, it's a functional call out to something that Refn enjoys, but I like what he did with it. I like how he kind of like funneled that energy into this film and how it looks.
It's interesting you bring up Brian De Palma, because Cliff Martinez, who Refn has worked with for many of his films, did not score this film. The composer for Her Private Hell is Pino Donaggio, who many may know from several of Brian De Palma films like Carrie, Dressed to Kill, Blowout, and of course many other great films, not De Palma films. Do you feel there was a specific reason he chose that composer?
Oh, 1,000%. Again, I think this is a love letter to his influences, and that being one of them. And I'll say this, it's Donaggio and also Julian Winding, who does other tracks on it. And the score is phenomenal. And I feel like with a movie that doesn't work, sometimes you can single out the soundtrack. And the soundtrack worked, but everything else failed. And I think we're going to get into like plot stuff and the visuals and all that jazz. But even if you hate this movie, even if you cannot stand it, the soundtrack for this is fantastic. Look it up on YouTube. I think the whole thing just dropped a few days ago. It's great. So it's like, for all the people who are giving this 1 star, half star, I hate this, it didn't work, that's part of why we're even talking about it today. Is that's too easy. Just write this off as like, it's bad, goodbye, that's it. No, the soundtrack rocks, and it fits, and it's part of this world that he's trying to create here. And just to toss this up, just to crumple this up on a ball and throw it away, I don't accept that, because there's too much cool stuff going on in here.
Well, that's a whole reason for why we started this podcast, was to celebrate the efforts that are put into films. There's something worth redeeming and talking about in every film that's made. I 100% believe that. So it does sound like I should see this film. Now, one of our categories that we typically cover in our main episodes is Convince Me to Watch It scene. Is there a scene in this film that you could describe to convince me to watch it.
Yes. So it's, again, we're juggling the two different plot lines. And I don't know, part of me is like, I'm trying to read Refn's mind. Maybe that's, perhaps that's difficult. But it's like the domestic drama with the actress isn't the most, and look, it's beautiful and I'm into it. I don't mean this as an insult, but it's not the most active plot line imaginable. It's like her best friend has married her father and she's upset about that. It's strained the relationship. And there's another young actress that she's kind of taking under her wing on this project. She's in town to shoot a movie, this science fiction movie. And it's kind of like you're getting there's like with this new character being introduced, by them talking to her, you're getting the backstory with her and the stepmother. And that's not like slam bang action and you're not seeing murder scenes there. And it's just kind of like you're dealing with this domestic drama for a bit just between these old friends. But then it switches over to the Private K, the Charles Melton plot line. And it's him in the Japanese underworld. And there's a fight scene that's like an absolute showstopper. So you go from kind of this more very stilted, very stylized, these friends kind of working out where they are in the relationship, to all of a sudden it's Charles Melton just whipping ass and looking like an absolute... He looks like, Refn compared him to Marlon Brando. I think he's got a James Dean thing going on. He is shot like a movie star. He is shot like an absolute superstar, the way the lighting is on him. And when he goes in, he's got a save the cat moment. Like people are being abused in this building. And he goes in and he's armed with brass knucks and a switchblade. It's him just against this gang of guys. And it looks fantastic. So I think even if you hate the rest of the movie or don't like how it all comes together, that's a scene where that pops up on YouTube. I would gladly show that to anybody. Because I would, how could you not like that?
I mean, that does sound like a scene I want to watch.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to be at a screening with the director, Nicolas Winding Refn, NWR, as he is affectionately called, and Charles Melton was also there. Some tidbits from that: NWR turned to Charles Melton and told him that he has a very special gift, and that gift is he looks like a 1940s movie star. He compared him to Marlon Brando, who Charles Melton told us in a story that he had said that on set to him, and he was like, cool, but like really he was like, hell yeah, you know? And that's exactly why it works. And then the other big tidbit that we got from the director was the idea of how these two characters, between the Sophie Thatcher character and the Charles Melton character, and this is what I thought too, but Charles Melton is an alter ego. He is the hero that she kind of has to conjure and needs to be in order to break free from kind of this trap that she is in. And I thought that was really interesting. The other thing I wanted to point out, this movie made me think of Alphaville by Jean-Luc Godard. I would do a double feature of those any day. But yeah, ultimately, this movie is an enigma if you're not there to just be put under the trance of it. And if you're able to be put under a trance of it, it is beautiful, it is shocking, it is something you just can't take your eyes off of. And that is why I highly recommend, if this sounds like a movie for you, Her Private Hell.
So you saw this not at a special screening with the director and some cast members in attendance. What was your screening like? Was the theater packed? Was there excitement?
I saw this with the dirty, unwashed masses, just like myself. It was around 30 people. Listener, Andreas and I have been talking about Her Private Hell for a minute because, look, I want this to do well, and I want it to get a cult following, and I'm a Refn fan. I want good things for him, and I'm glad he survived his near-death experience. But I'll be 100% honest, I had a feeling this was not going to do great, because the fact the plot description is so vague, like Andreas read earlier, that sets off certain warning signs. How they were promoting the film set off certain warning signs. The type of output Refn's been making the last 10 years, I really enjoy it, but it's not for everybody. So it's like, okay, if all of a sudden you're just going to jump right in, I was a little afraid of what it was going to be like. So there was around 30 folks in there. Very nice couple on a date next to me, probably in their early 20s. I overheard something about like university, and then just kind of, just people around the theater. I could just tell in the theater it was not working. Just like stuff was happening and there's like no response. 4 walkouts.
Whoa.
Yep. And the lights came on and the guy in front of me said, "Oh, thank God."
Oh, no. Wait, like in a good way?
Well, in a good as in he was released and could go home to his family way. And then the couple was funny. The woman was like mulling it over. And I think she liked it. She was just, there's a lot to process and kind of where all the imagery and like, you kind of have to put together, like, how are these things connected? And I think she was doing that. And I could tell the guy didn't like it, but because he's on the date, he's trying to be nice. He's like, "Oh, yeah, it looks really good." So hey, I've been there. I've been this guy before, trying to fake my way through something. Possibly the most negative theater experience. Now, I had a good time with it. I was enjoying watching it, but I could just, based on energy in the theater and the lights came up, quite possibly the most negative theater experience I've ever had.
Could you tell other patrons were like grumbling as they walked off, or like
Yes.
what else made it negative besides
Okay.
the walkouts?
There's a character named Hunter, played by Christine Froseth, who that's the new member of the group. So you have Sophie Thatcher's character, you have Havana Rose Liu's character, and then they're like the two friends that have been torn apart by Havana Rose Liu's Dominique marrying the father. Enter Hunter, this Hunter character. She's the newbie in the group. She's so doe-eyed. It's funny. And her stilted delivery, that's funny. And at one point, she's flirting with somebody later in the film, and how she's flirting is very over the top. You've seen that in the Lynch movie. You've seen like the over the top person or the person who's too like G. Willikers, and Lynch is doing something deliberately, trying to be amusing with that. Here is that the theater was not having it. Did not think she was treating her too serious. And I think that's like, it's a vibe, it's a mood. That's too much of an umbrella. It's too much of an escape clause. But it is like, it's a dreamy experience. And I could feel in the theater, people had their brakes on, that they were not kind of giving themselves over. And if you take it literally, you're going to be confused because there's a lot of like dream logic at play at times. And yeah, that's not the experience you're going to get. So people weren't laughing. There's action scenes that are like badass, no response. There are murder scenes where it's like pretty gruesome at the end. It just nothing was getting a reaction from that crowd. And you had people just getting up randomly and just walking out.
You can feel the energy in a room. But on the flip side, it sounds like Jeff went to an amazing screening.
Yes. So his was white hot. He said it was great energy. People were laughing along. I think that was the number one telltale. Like they got that character is supposed to be kind of like goofy. And then Refn came out and said how much it meant to him. But to get to some of the meat of why I even wanted to record this episode, the 1-star reviews, that this is terrible, this is awful, that type of thing. How many awful movies have you seen? Or how many things have you seen that are soulless or where like unmemorable flat direction? I've seen like stuff that had like very TV movie direction or something with terrible dialogue or a terrible script or there's no action or it's boring. And I think this is slow paced. I get if this isn't your speed, but I'll say the score's off the charts. Look it up, listen to it. Tell me if it's not. I mean, I very much enjoyed it. I think it visually looks great. I mean, you have this fictional city he's created, shrouded in fog, them walking through this mist, them going into like this hotel, them riding up the elevator like out of the fog, the kill scenes, the action scenes. There's a very memorable sex scene in it. At one point, the domestic drama boils over. It's not like nothing is happening. There's cool set pieces throughout the film. So the idea of giving 1 star to this experience, I objectively don't see that. So that's why I'm jealous of Jeff's experience, because that was a white hot crowd that was there to experience the collective dream. They were there to hand themselves over to this very stylish piece. And my theater wasn't. And again, I still had a good time because there's shots where I was like, that is gorgeous. And I'm glad I'm here and I'm seeing it on the big screen above me. And when it comes out, I'll pick this up. I'm not a big disposable income guy. I want to see the Odyssey again. I want to see this again. I'm not sure if I'm able to run out to see them. But like, if I just had money to burn, I'd go back to watch this before it left theaters. I really enjoyed it. So he said Refn was great. He talked a little bit about his near-death experience. He said there was nothing. Ooh, little chilling there. So the best we can do is just to kind of knock it out. I'm glad Refn was there to be with a receptive audience, considering how cold maybe the rest of the country is on it now. So at least that one night was very positive.
And we should say, we tried to get Jeff on. Unfortunately, his schedule didn't work out. Again, it was very nice of him to send us some voice memos that we could play for our listeners. Did he say whether it was fully packed, the theater?
I believe it was.
Nice. Yeah, it's good that Refn could see that and enjoy it with people who actually wanted to be there.
And also I'll say, like, when I was done, I was like, well, I think Jeff would want to see it. And then Jeff got out and he goes, I literally have nobody to recommend this to other than you. and I get that. And also Jeff would love to be on a future episode. So we will figure that out. And I also think expectations are interesting because for me, I'm like, how does one stumble into Her Private Hell? It's an art film. Look up any art. It's an arty film. I don't know if I'd call it an art film. Definitely stylized. The reviews are all over the place. So those people that ended up in my theater who ended up disappointed and like upset by the experience, was it a cold viewing? And I don't do that. I don't want to look up a ton of details, but I will, like, if I have mutuals, I'll look on Letterboxd, or if it played at the Cannes Film Festival or Sundance, maybe I'll see kind of just what the news is coming out of there. But I was talking to my wife and she's like, I don't know, if I saw on a poster from the director of Drive and it looked interesting, I might just blind walk into that. So I know just different people are wired differently. Just for me, I don't know if I could be blindsided like they were, but it seemed like they were blind. So they were just not expecting that experience.
Yeah, I also wonder how many went for the actors involved, right? Because that's the sort of younger generation of actors that could have large followings. I don't know that. They might have massive social media followers. And I know Charles Melton is doing some interesting work. I mean, he's got some great smaller and indie films. I don't want to say out of the ordinary, but not your typical Hollywood fare type films under his belt, which is great.
He is shot like the coolest human alive in this. If I was him, I'd be very, look, that's the thing. No matter what happens, I hope that everyone's proud of this, because I think he makes them look very good, and hopefully that's the feeling walking away from this. Part of me surprised by some of the cinephiles I follow, just not like this to me as cult film in the making. And again, like we've gone through this. We literally lived through this with Only God Forgives. We're at first like, nah, I don't know if that worked. A little cold. Like the same complaints that came out to this one. And now it's like, oh, misunderstood classic. Oh, there was more stuff there. So I'm not saying this is going to hit those heights, but I will say on first viewing, I was more into this than the first time I saw Only God Forgives.
Oh, nice.
And also, it's funny, when I see the super negative reviews, I like this movie. I left the theater liking this movie. I enjoyed it while I was watching it. So that's coming from a legit, authentic place. But when I say that, it just makes me want to dig my heels in even harder. And it's funny because I don't think this is perfect. I don't see a 1-star review here. If you'd be like, it's a 2-star movie, but it's got a whole bunch of interesting things in it, okay, that's a conversation we can have. So it's almost like, I wish that we could have a discourse. I wish we could have a real conversation about this versus just the hyperbole of, it's amazing or it sucks. And I feel like that's where we're stuck in film criticism in 2026.
And are you finding any more than 1-star reviews that...
No. There's a collection of folks who, like, I'd say not exact science. I'd say 1 in 6. It's go on Letterboxd. 1, 1, 1, 1, 4, 1, 1, 1, 1, 4.5. I think again, if you can turn yourself over to just the dreamy imagery and get on its wavelength, there's a ton to enjoy. And also, that sounds like a backhanded compliment. There's a ton of set pieces that I enjoy in here. That's the other thing. And I would say for the Stilton delivery, yes, at first the characters aren't the warmest people. So it's like, who am I rooting for? Why am I in this situation? Whatever. But I'll say, as the movie goes on and enters this right before the third act, somebody gets a reaction to something and they have a human reaction to it. So up till now, everyone's been very stilted, but something happens that triggers an honest to God response, and they respond like a human does. That was a good moment. So it's like, I can't even write it off. It's like, there are good performances in here. So even in a movie where it's very stylized and like it's composed, I think it being over composed or being too cold or whatever, Refn's had that accused, like his last few projects have had that kind of hurled at them. Here, though, it's used where there's moments like that, but then it can flip it where the humanity will kind of come popping out, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah. Jeff mentioned that there was a Godard film that he would do a double feature with this. Is there another film that you would recommend doing a double feature of this with?
I think this and, well, Inland Empire or Megalopolis are brother-sister movies because it's in 3 cases, 3 auteurs making movies where they're going to do whatever the hell they want. And with Megalopolis, the comparison is that people keep making is these fictional cities. Because Megalopolis in this feature, Coppola's, Megalopolis, and then here, this Misty City, and then also just bizarro performances within them. I enjoy those trips. I would gladly take those trips. Also, I guess if you're a Refn head, this and Only God Forgives would probably make a pretty badass double feature.
If Only God Forgives or if Neon Demon would work well with it.
Yes. Absolutely.
I haven't seen Neon Demon.
Well, I see Neon Demon's probably one of the ones I'm more colder on, but I'll say, and that's why I kind of smirk, and I wonder if this is by design. Neon Demon has horror elements to it, but you're not going to be like, oh, I'm so scared of Neon Demon. You know what I mean? It's just like kind of like light. It's so cold and composed and whatever. It's introducing those elements, but it doesn't lean in like hard. So that's why I wonder, is that where the Charles Melton plot line kind of comes from in here? Is that Refn being self-conscious and like, ugh, I need to put some action in here? So he introduces a plot line, which is very action heavy. And if so, maybe more power to you, because it gooses the film. When you need something to happen, that scene comes in and kind of just totally changes the texture of it.
And it doesn't feel forced?
It doesn't. Okay, good question. I would say it doesn't feel forced because there are no rules. So it's not breaking the narrative because the narrative's drifting all over the place. But your mileage may vary whether or not you like that plotline or not. Also, where Charles Melton's character fits into the movie, I've got like 3 different theories. I might have 5 by the end of the night. Whether or not that annoys you or inspires you or makes you think about it, I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Oh, what's the I have my notes here, and it's number 6, Daddy Issues Summer. That actually ties into this. So watching this in the Odyssey, this is steeped in daddy issues. So it's her father's married her best friend, and her father's played by Doug Ray Scott, the villain from Mission Impossible 2. He's a great scumbag here. You're really good. So it's like, I want to see more like Mission Impossible 2, spoiler alert, not my favorite Mission Impossible, but he is oozing charisma in this, and I really enjoyed that. So you've got him as a father figure. You've got Charles Melton, kind of Avenger out there as a father figure. And then the Leatherman, the creature, this ghostly figure, he's named as a father. So you've got these 3 father presences. And I think that's interesting in here. And also with the Odyssey and all the, the father dread in that film as well. So I don't know what we're working through in 2026, but in the last 2 movies I saw in the theater, they're both steeped in that imagery.
Nice. For those who aren't as familiar with Giallo, are there any movies you would recommend?
Blood and Black Lace, Bird with Crystal Plumage, Deep Red, Tenebrae, Twitch of the Death Nerve, For America, Alice, Sweet Alice. I think Blowout technically qualifies. I'll do Blowout, and Night School. That's just to whet your palate. Look it up. There's a thousand good ones. And the good news is even the ones that aren't good, still a good time. Even a bad one's probably going to be a good time.
I love it.
If you're a sicko, check this one out. Yeah, and I think in a theater, because again, I think it looks and sounds great. I do think this will have a cult following. On our Real Demers 15th anniversary, episode, we'll probably talk about this one. I could see it coming back around again. Again, it's an artist swinging for the fences and doing their own thing. And that doesn't mean you have to love it. I don't think this is perfect. That's everything. He does not get a get out of jail free card. Everything gets a pass. But I by far enjoyed more of this than I did. And I do think it's an experience. And with so much, like, I hate to go here and get up on the soapbox, but here I'm pulling my soapbox out. With so much IP and prepackaged stuff and stuff that has to go through a committee, it feels safe. Here's something that's it's Refn's obsessions. He's going to put them up on the screen and he hopes you enjoys them. I appreciate the swing, but beyond the swing, I think a lot of the execution works as well.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it. And yeah, shout out to Neon for just giving him the opportunities to make films like this. I obviously can't speak to it because I haven't seen it yet, but just with how it looks and an artist being able to express themselves, that's something we're always going to celebrate.
My question was, I don't know where he goes next. And Jeff said at the Q&A, like, he is still, he's brought this up before, but he goes, Maniac Cop remake.
Oh, nice.
I'd like to see it. Now, I think, look, I'm going to be 100% honest. I think he's got to just add 1 or 2 more set pieces at his current pace. Because if it's like 2 big set pieces and the rest is kind of the stylized, I don't think that's going to work. But I think if he did a pretty cool, like, his kill scenes look great. I think he's got an interesting take on sexuality, how he's implemented that in his last couple movies. I think he could do a bitchin' Maniac Cop. This wasn't run by anybody. That one, I think you need the right producer working with him to make it just maybe a little bit more audience friendly, because I want him to succeed.
I do too. And I also know that once that film comes out, we'll be covering the original Maniac Cop. And then I'm sure we'll be covering Her Private Hell, maybe sooner than our 15th anniversary. We'll see.
Okay, well, I would love to do a deep dive. Also, Maniac Cop 3 had a sequence that I was cackling on my couch in the middle of COVID. Stuck at home, I was just laughing. It brought me such joy. So maybe one day our paths will cross with the Maniac Cop films.
Well, thanks everyone for listening to this episode of Short Ends. If you want to reach out, please email us at realdemers@gmail.com. And if you've seen Her Private Hell, let us know what you thought.
Yes, please let us know.
Thanks, everyone.